In the far corner of a broken alien city, under flickering neon lights and cold metal towers, there lived a girl no one cared about. She was not like the others. Her skin was pale silver, her eyes clouded with white mist. She was blind. Every step she took was slow, careful, as if the ground itself wanted to trick her. People on the streets laughed at her, sometimes pushed her away, sometimes ignored her like she was not even alive. But still she walked. Every day she walked with empty hands, searching for something to eat. She had no family, no friends, no safe place to call home. The only thing she had was the city's trash. When others threw away rotten food, she searched through it, feeling shapes with her fingers, smelling the air for anything she could eat. Sometimes she found cold bread, sometimes a broken fruit, sometimes nothing at all. The trash was her market, her kitchen, and her only hope to live another day. The people of the city called her worthless. They whispered, "A blind girl cannot survive. She is only a burden." But she never answered back. She had no strength to fight with words. All she could do was keep walking, keep breathing, keep searching. The city around her was alive with noise. Alien vendors shouted about shining crystals and glowing machines. Bright lights covered the sky. Yet for her, the world was only sound, touch, and smell. She heard the rumble of ships above. She felt the sharp edges of broken metal under her hands. She smelled the smoke of burning fuel mixed with the sour stink of garbage. At night, when the streets grew quiet, she sat in the shadows. Her thin hands held small pieces of metal and glass she had collected. To others, these pieces were nothing, useless scraps, but she liked to hold them, to feel their shapes. They gave her comfort, even when her stomach was empty. One evening, when the rain fell heavy and the streets glowed with reflections, she reached into a pile of waste near the market gates. Her fingers touched something strange. It was not soft like rotten food, not sharp like broken glass. It was smooth, warm, and it gave a faint pulse like the beat of a heart. She held it close. It felt alive. She did not know what it was, but it made her chest feel less empty. For the first time in many nights, she smiled. The girl carried the strange object with her, hiding it under her torn cloak. She did not know that this small piece of trash was not trash at all. It was something powerful, something forgotten, something that others would kill to possess, but she was blind. To her, it was just another object from the shadows. The next morning, the city woke up with its usual chaos. Vendors fought over prices. Guards shouted at thieves. Ships flew over the rooftops like giant insects, and in the middle of this storm of noise, the blind girl walked again, holding her collection of scraps in a small bag. Her stomach growled, but her heart felt different. The glowing piece inside her bag gave her a strange warmth, a strange courage. She felt as if someone, somewhere, was watching over her. The people still mocked her. Children threw stones, laughing when she stumbled. A trader pushed her aside, calling her useless. Yet she kept walking. She did not cry. She did not scream. She just whispered to herself, "One more day. I can live one more day." She sat near the old bridge at the edge of the city. The wind was cold, the sound of machines was far, but the glow in her bag remained. She held it again, and for a moment the world around her seemed quieter, calmer. She did not know that her life was about to change. She did not know that her trash would soon bring her face to face with a stranger from another world. She did not know that the shadows she lived in would soon turn into light, for now she was only a blind girl, lost in a city that did not care. But in the silence of the night, the strange glowing object pulsed in her hand as if whispering, "You are not worthless. You are chosen." And so the story began, not with a hero, not with a warrior, but with a girl in the shadows searching for food in the trash, while unknowingly holding a treasure that could change everything. The girl in the shadows did not know she had slept beside a secret. She woke under the cold bridge as the city lights faded into the gray dawn. The blind alien girl touched her bag, making sure the glowing piece was still there. It was warm, like a small sun trapped inside metal. She smiled even though her stomach ached with hunger. Every morning was the same. She searched through garbage heaps, feeling shapes with her hands, hoping for food. But this morning felt different. Her fingers shook when she held the strange object again. It was not food, not clothing, not anything she had ever touched before. It hummed quietly, almost like it was alive. She pressed it against her chest. For a moment she felt stronger, like the world's cruelty could not reach her. But she told herself it was just her imagination. "It is only trash," she whispered. "Everything I have is trash. The city, however, was waking with its usual noise. Vendors shouted, selling shiny gadgets and glowing fruits. Guards barked at criminals. Smoke filled the air, thick and bitter. For the people of the city, this chaos was normal. But for the blind girl, it was only another battlefield where she had to survive unseen. She walked carefully along the edge of the market. Her bag rattled with broken pieces of glass, wires, and bent metal. Most days she would try to sell her scraps, but no one wanted them. Traders spat at her, told her to leave. Sometimes they took her things without paying. Still, she never gave up. Even if her life was cruel, her will was stubborn. Today, she placed her collection on a broken cloth near the market gate. She sat quietly waiting. Her pale eyes stared at nothing, her ears sharp for footsteps. People passed, laughing at her display. Garbage, they said. Useless trash. No one stopped to look, but what they ignored was the truth. The scraps she carried were not ordinary trash. Among them were ancient fragments, pieces of technology long forgotten, lost in the dirt of the city. The glowing object was only one of many. She had been collecting treasure without knowing it. As the day grew hotter, the girl touched the glowing piece again. It pulsed gently, almost as if answering her touch. She tilted her head, confused. She could not see it, but she felt it was special. Yet she had been called worthless so many times that she did not believe in her own senses. Her mind went back to the voices of her people. A blind child is a curse. A blind child cannot work. A blind child is nothing. Those words had followed her since she was small. She had learned to survive by silence, never answering back, never fighting. And so even now, with treasure in her hands, she told herself it was nothing. But fate does not stay silent forever. That afternoon, a group of traders noticed her glowing scrap. Their laughter stopped. Their eyes narrowed. They whispered among themselves, "That blind beggar. What is she holding?" The girl heard the whispers but did not understand. She clutched her bag tightly, afraid they might steal even her broken things. She did not know the power she was protecting. Hours passed. The market grew loud, then slowly quiet again as night fell. Lanterns lit the streets, painting the city in orange glow. The girl packed her scraps and walked back toward her bridge. Her steps were slow, her cloak wet from earlier rain. Yet inside her bag, the glowing piece pulsed brighter, as if it knew something was coming. She reached the shadows of the bridge, sat down, and spread her collection in front of her. She touched each item carefully. A broken gear, a bent rod, a piece of crystal, and then the warm object. She smiled faintly. "At least you are kind to me," she whispered. She leaned back, listening to the city's faraway noise. She wondered why she was still alive. She had no family, no place, no reason. And yet here she was, holding scraps that made her heart strangely calm. What she did not know was that destiny had already chosen her. The glowing object in her hands was not just metal. It was a relic, a memory of a lost civilization. It carried secrets of power, maps of stars, keys to doors no one else could open. And she, the blind girl no one valued, was the only one who could feel its truth. That night, as the city slept, a shadow passed through the streets. It was not an alien. It was not from this world. A human traveler, tired from his journey, walked into the city gates. His eyes scanned the strange market. His ears caught the sound of whispers about a blind girl who carried glowing trash. The girl slept peacefully under her bridge, her bag of treasures close to her chest. She had no idea that by morning her life would no longer belong to the shadows. Someone was coming, someone who would see not her blindness but her gift. The forgotten treasure was no longer forgotten. It was waiting to be found. The alien city was always alive with sound, even at night. Engines roared above as ships floated between towers. Street vendors shouted until their voices broke. Guards argued with thieves. The blind girl sat in her corner, clutching her bag of scraps. She could not see the city, but she felt its weight pressing on her every day. Far away at the city gates, a new figure stepped onto the cracked streets. He was not like the others. His skin was pale, his features sharp, his clothes simple but strange. He was a human. Few humans dared to walk in this part of the galaxy. The city was not kind to outsiders, and it was even less kind to humans. The man walked slowly, his eyes scanning the chaotic market. Traders stared at him with suspicion. Some whispered insults, others laughed. To them, humans were weak creatures, soft and fragile. But this man did not flinch. His eyes were steady, searching for something, or someone. The rumors had reached him only hours ago. A blind alien girl sits in the market, holding glowing trash. Most dismissed it as nonsense, but he had traveled far enough to know that treasure often hides where no one dares to look. He moved deeper into the city, ignoring the laughter behind him. His boots touched the wet ground, his hands resting on a small pack strapped to his side. He had no weapon, but his eyes showed he was not afraid. The girl, meanwhile, sat at her corner in the market. She had laid out her scraps again, hoping to trade for food. Voices surrounded her, shouts, laughter, footsteps. But one sound was different. Slow, careful footsteps that did not rush or mock. They came closer, then stopped in front of her. "Is this your stall?" a calm voice asked. The girl froze. No one ever spoke to her with respect. Usually people shouted or pushed her away. She tilted her head, listening. The voice was soft, strange, not like the other aliens. "Yes," she whispered. "It is nothing. Just trash." The man crouched down to look. His eyes widened. What he saw was not trash. The scraps spread on the cloth were fragments of ancient technology. Old circuits, crystal cores, and pieces of lost machines. And in the middle, glowing faintly, was the relic. He reached out, almost touching it, but stopped himself. He looked at her pale, clouded eyes. She was blind. She had no idea what she was holding. "Do you know what this is?" he asked quietly. The girl shook her head. "Only garbage, worthless," the man smiled sadly. "No, not garbage, this is treasure." The girl laughed, bitter and soft. "Treasure? If it was treasure, people would buy it. But no one wants it. They say I am useless, and my things are useless too." The man looked at her closely. Her face was thin, her clothes torn, but her hands were steady as they touched the scraps. She treated each piece with care, as if they were alive. He realized she had been collecting them not by sight, but by some deeper sense. "These are not useless," he said firmly. "These pieces are older than this city. Older than your people. They are parts of a forgotten race. Powerful, rare, priceless." The girl's lips trembled. She wanted to believe him, but her life had been filled with lies and cruelty. "You are joking," she said. "Trying to trick me." The man shook his head. "I would not trick you. I have seen relics like these before, and I have seen what they can do." She sat silent, holding the glowing piece in her hand. It pulsed against her skin, warm and alive. For the first time, someone was telling her she was not worthless. But was it true? Or another cruel joke? Around them, other traders noticed the human kneeling beside the blind girl. Their eyes narrowed. They began to whisper. "Why is he looking at her trash? Why does he care?" Greed lit their faces. The man noticed the stares. He leaned closer to the girl. "Listen to me. These things are not safe in the open. People will try to take them from you. You must trust me." The girl frowned. Trust. It was a word she had never known. No one had ever given her a reason to trust. But something in his voice felt different, steady, honest. "Why do you care?" she asked softly. The man looked at her and said, "Because sometimes the greatest treasures are hidden where no one dares to look. And I think you are one of them." Her chest tightened. No one had ever spoken to her like that. She lowered her head, unsure of what to say. The market around them grew darker as night fell. Lanterns flickered. Traders kept watching, their whispers turning into plans. Danger was close, but the girl did not know it yet. The human stood slowly, offering his hand. "Come with me. I will show you what your treasures really are." The girl hesitated. Her whole life had been shadows and cruelty. Could she step into something new? Could she trust a stranger? She held the glowing piece tightly, feeling its pulse. Somewhere deep inside, a voice whispered, "Yes." And so, under the flickering lights of the alien market, the blind girl reached out her hand. For the first time in her life, she did not feel alone. But in the shadows, others were already moving. Greedy eyes, sharp hands, and hungry hearts. The girl's treasures had been noticed, and soon the entire city would want them. The human had arrived, but with him came a storm. The market was closing, and the last voices of vendors faded into the night. Lanterns flickered on the crooked walls, throwing long shadows across the dirty ground. The blind alien girl sat with her bag close to her chest. In her hand she held the glowing relic, the strange piece of trash that had always felt alive. Beside her, the human crouched again. His voice was calm, steady, as if he carried no fear of the city around them. Yet his eyes kept moving, scanning the shadows because he knew danger was near. "Listen carefully," he said. The things you carry are not worthless. They are fragments of an ancient power. People here do not see it, but I do. And if they realize what you have, they will come for you. The girl frowned, hugging her bag tighter. Her heart pounded with doubt. Why should I believe you? Everyone calls me useless. Everyone says my things are nothing. Why are you different? The man did not rush his answer. He reached into his own pack and pulled out a small device. It was broken, cracked, yet it gave off the same faint glow as her relic. He placed it carefully on the ground between them. She tilted her head, sensing its hum. Her pale fingers brushed the air, then touched the object. A sharp gasp escaped her lips. It felt the same as her treasure. Warm, alive. The human nodded. This is part of the same technology. I have spent years searching for these, and now you are sitting here with a collection more valuable than anything I have ever seen. Her lips trembled. If it is treasure, why do I not feel rich? Why am I still hungry? The man looked at her with sadness. Because treasure is only treasure if someone understands it, and you have lived your whole life surrounded by people who refuse to see. For the first time, the girl's chest tightened, not with hunger, but with something new. Hope. Someone was telling her she was not worthless. Someone was saying her trash was more valuable than gold. But hope was dangerous. She shook her head quickly, retreating into fear. No, you are lying. You want to steal from me. Everyone steals from me. The man leaned closer, his voice firm. No, if I wanted to steal, I could have taken it already. You would never have stopped me. But I am not here to steal. I am here to offer you something. Her breath caught. An offer. No one had ever offered her anything. What? What do you mean? She whispered. The man pointed at her bag. You have the pieces, but you do not know what they are. I know how to unlock their secrets. I know how to use them. If you come with me, I will show you. I will teach you what you carry. You will see that your curse is not a curse at all. The girl shook her head. I cannot see. I will never see. The man smiled softly. Maybe not with your eyes, but with something greater. You already feel these objects better than anyone else. You have been chosen whether you believe it or not. She held the glowing relic close to her chest. It pulsed against her heart, warm and steady. A part of her wanted to believe. A part of her wanted to run. In the distance, footsteps echoed. Traders who had been watching earlier were moving closer, their whispers sharp with greed. The human's jaw tightened. Time was running out. He extended his hand again. Come with me, trust me. I cannot promise it will be easy, but I can promise you will never be alone again. The girl froze. No one had ever promised her such words. Her whole life had been shadows, loneliness, and cruel laughter. Now, here was a stranger offering her light, offering her value, offering her a future. Her lips parted, but before she could answer, the sound of laughter filled the air. A group of alien traders stepped from the darkness, their eyes glowing with greed. Well, one of them sneered. The little blind beggar has been hiding treasure. The girl gasped, clutching her bag. The human stood quickly, placing himself between her and the men. His eyes narrowed. He had no weapon, but his stance was steady. You do not know what you are touching, he warned. The aliens laughed. We do not need to know. We just need to take. The girl's hands shook. She wanted to disappear, to hide, to crawl into the shadows. But the human's voice cut through her fear. Decide now, he said without looking back at her. Stay and lose everything, or come with me and protect what is yours. Her heart pounded. The relic pulsed harder in her hands, as if urging her to move. She remembered the years of hunger, the endless cruelty, the voices calling her worthless. She remembered the cold nights alone under the bridge, and then she remembered his words. You will never be alone again. Her blind eyes filled with tears. Slowly, she reached out and touched his arm. I will come, she whispered. The man nodded once, calm but fierce. Then hold on. Whatever happens, do not let go. The traders snarled, stepping forward, but they did not know the storm that had just been born. For in that moment, the blind girl was no longer just a beggar in the shadows. She had accepted the offer, and with it, her life and the life of the human would never be the same again. The night air was thick with tension. The greedy traders still hovered nearby, whispering to one another, their eyes glowing with desire for the relics. But the human did not hesitate. He guided the blind girl away from the market, his hand firm on her shoulder. Keep close, he said quietly. Do not let go. The girl clutched her bag against her chest. Her legs trembled, but she followed. She had made her choice. She had trusted him. For the first time in her life, someone had stood between her and danger. The thought filled her chest with warmth, though her mind still screamed with fear. They moved through narrow alleys where the lantern light grew dim. Rats scurried across broken pipes, and the smell of oil and smoke hung heavy in the air. Behind them, footsteps echoed. The traders were following. The human stopped near a dark wall and guided the girl to sit. "We rest here for a moment," he said. She sank to the ground, her chest rising fast. "They will come," she whispered. "Yes," he answered, calm. "But they will not find us yet. You need strength." From his pack, he pulled out a small piece of bread wrapped in cloth. It was rough and dry, but when he placed it in her hands, her fingers trembled. Food. Real food. Not scraps from the garbage, not rotten fruit, not something stolen from the dirt. Her lips shook as she whispered, "For me?" "For us," he replied. He broke the bread in half, keeping one piece and giving her the other. She brought it to her mouth and bit gently. Tears slipped down her pale cheeks. She could not remember the last time she had tasted food that was not spoiled. The warmth spread inside her like fire. She tried to speak, but no words came. The human ate his piece slowly, his eyes always watching the alley. But he noticed her tears and softened his voice. "Do not cry, eat. You need strength for what is coming." She nodded, chewing silently. When the bread was gone, she wiped her face with her torn sleeve. For the first time in years, she felt like someone cared if she lived or died. "You are strange," she whispered. The man tilted his head. "Strange?" "Yes, you treat me as if I matter." "No one ever has," he smiled faintly. "That is because they are blind. You are not worthless. You are stronger than they know." She laughed bitterly. "I am blind." "I stumble, I beg. What strength do I have?" He reached for her hand and gently guided it to the glowing relic in her bag. "This," he said. "You feel what others cannot. You collect what others throw away. You hear the heartbeat of things long forgotten. That is strength." She held the relic, its pulse strong in her hand. "But I do not understand it. That is why we will learn together," he said firmly. His words pressed into her like a promise. For the first time, she felt not like a burden, but like someone with purpose. They sat quietly, the sounds of the city distant. The girl tilted her head, listening to the hum of the relic. It felt alive, like it was guiding her. She whispered, "Sometimes, when I touch these things, I feel shapes, patterns like they are speaking to me, but I do not understand their language." The human's eyes lit with excitement. "Yes, that is what makes you special. You do not need sight. You can feel the code. The patterns. That is something no one else can do." Her pale lips parted. "You believe me?" He nodded without hesitation. Completely. Her chest tightened again. No one had ever believed her. Not once in her life. For a moment, silence fell between them. The bond was forming, unseen but strong. The girl held the relic close, and the human watched her with quiet respect. But danger was never far. A loud crash echoed down the alley. Voices shouted. The traders were searching, breaking crates, overturning bins. The human stood quickly, his jaw tightening. "They are closer," he whispered. He reached out his hand again. "We must go." The girl stood, holding the bag tightly. This time she did not hesitate. She took his hand with firm grip, as if afraid to lose it. They moved again, slipping through shadows, guided only by the relic's faint hum. And though the city was filled with danger, the girl no longer felt entirely afraid. She was not alone anymore. As they walked, she whispered softly, almost to herself, "What is your name?" The human glanced at her. "My name does not matter yet. What matters is that you live, that you understand what you carry." She smiled faintly. "Then I will call you Guide," he chuckled. "Guide. I can live with that." And so the blind girl and the human, her guide, moved deeper into the city's darkness. Their bond was still fragile, like a candle in the wind, but it was real. The girl, once mocked as worthless, now had someone who shared food with her, believed her, and promised she was more than her blindness. The traders hunted them. The city towered above them. Danger grew with every step, but for the first time in her life, the blind girl walked not in shadows alone, but beside someone who saw her worth, and that bond was only the beginning. The night grew colder as the human and the blind girl moved through the broken streets. The city seemed endless, filled with metal towers, leaking pipes, and echoes of machines. The girl held her bag close, the relics pressing against her chest. their faint hum steady like a heartbeat. Her guide led her through narrow alleys, careful with every step. He knew they were being followed. He could feel eyes in the shadows, greedy and hungry. "They are close," he whispered. The girl tilted her head, listening. Her sharp ears caught faint footsteps behind them, whispers in a language filled with malice. She shivered. "They will take my things," she said softly. The human's voice was firm. "Not while I am here." But even as he said it, he knew the danger was rising. The traders had not given up. Word had already spread through the market. The blind beggar carries treasure. A human protects her. Find them. Take it. Now more than a handful of greedy hunters searched the streets, each one ready to kill for the relics. The girl clung tighter to his arm. "Why are they after me now?" "They never cared before." "Because they finally saw what you have," he answered. "Greed is faster than hunger. It spreads like fire." They slipped into an abandoned workshop, its walls broken and roof half collapsed. The human guided her to sit on a crate while he scanned the shadows outside. The relic in her bag glowed faintly, its light hidden by the torn cloth. The girl touched it with trembling fingers. "It feels stronger now, as if it knows we are in danger." The human looked at her carefully. "It may not just be an object. Some relics are alive in ways we do not fully understand." Her pale eyes turned toward the sound of his voice. "Alive?" "Yes, machines that remember. Devices that think. I have seen it before." He crouched near her, lowering his voice. "And if this one responds to you, then you are not just carrying treasure. You are its chosen." Her heart raced. Chosen. The word felt too heavy, too impossible. She had been called worthless her whole life. How could she be chosen for anything? Before she could answer, a crash echoed outside. The human's head snapped toward the doorway. Shadows moved. 3, 4, maybe more. "They found us," he whispered. The girl gripped her bag tightly. Her breath came fast. "I cannot fight. You will not fight," he said firmly. "You will survive." "That is enough." The door burst open. Traders poured inside, their eyes glowing with greed, their hands reaching for weapons. "There," one shouted. "The blind beggar and the human." The girl shrank back, her body trembling. But then something happened. The relic in her hands pulsed brighter, the glow spilling through the torn fabric of her bag. The air around her shifted, humming with unseen energy. The trader stopped for a moment, stunned by the light. The human's eyes widened. "It's activating," he breathed. The girl clutched it tighter, fear in her voice. "What is it doing?" "Trust it," he said quickly. "Let it guide you." The relic pulsed again, stronger. She felt warmth flood through her arms down to her legs. Her blindness had always left her stumbling in the dark, but now for the first time she felt the ground beneath her with perfect clarity. Every crack, every stone, every step was clear in her mind. She stood slowly, her movement steady, confident. The traders roared and charged forward, but the girl moved before they could reach her. Guided by the relic's pulse, she stepped aside, each motion precise. A hand grabbed at her cloak, but she twisted away. Another swung a blade, but she ducked without even seeing it. The human stared in shock. The girl who once stumbled in shadows now moved as if she could see more than anyone else. "Impossible," one trader growled. "She is blind." But blind no longer meant weak. The human grabbed a metal rod from the ground, swinging it to keep the traders at bay. "Stay close," he shouted. The girl moved beside him, her bag glowing brighter. With every step she felt the relic guiding her, warning her, protecting her. For the first time in her life, her blindness was not a curse, it was a key. The traders grew desperate. "Take it from her. Kill them both." But the girl's voice cut through the chaos, firm and steady. "No, you cannot take it. It is not yours." Her words carried weight, a strange power that silenced the room for a heartbeat. The relic pulsed once more, sending a shockwave of light across the floor. The traders stumbled back, shielding their eyes. The human seized the chance. "Now, we run." Together they darted through the broken workshop, slipping into the streets before the traders could recover. The city stretched ahead, full of danger, but also full of possibility. The girl's chest heaved, but she did not stumble. She moved with strength she had never known, guided by the relic's rhythm. The human glanced at her as they ran. "You feel it, don't you? You feel the way it connects to you." She nodded, breathless. "Yes, it shows me the path. It makes me more." His lips curved into a small, fierce smile. "Then together we will protect it." no matter who comes. Behind them, the traitors screamed in anger, their voices carrying through the night. The hunt was far from over. But as the blind girl and the human vanished into the maze of streets, one truth became clear: the danger was only growing, and the relic was only beginning to reveal its power. The shadows were no longer her prison. They were her weapon. The blind girl and her guide ran through the endless maze of the alien city. Behind them, shouts and footsteps echoed as greedy hunters searched the streets. But the relic pulsed in her hands, guiding her steps with a strange rhythm. For the first time in her life, she moved with certainty. The human led her into an old district where the towers leaned like broken bones. Here the streets were empty, abandoned long ago. Dust covered the ground and strange symbols marked the walls. The girl tilted her head, feeling the air hum around her. "It is leading us," she whispered. The man glanced at her. "Where?" She touched the relic, holding it close. "Forward, deeper, there is something waiting." He nodded. "Then we follow." They pressed on, the city's noise fading behind them. Finally, they reached a great arch carved into stone. Its surface glowed faintly, the same pulse as the relic. The girl stopped, her breath catching. "This place," she whispered. "It feels alive." The human touched the arch, his eyes wide. "It is ancient. Older than this city. Older than your people. This is what your relic belongs to." The girl stepped forward, her hand brushing the symbols. The relic in her bag pulsed brighter, responding to her touch. Suddenly the arch rumbled. Dust fell from above and a hidden door opened with a deep groan. The human exhaled sharply. Incredible. Inside was a chamber bathed in soft blue light. Strange machines lined the walls, silent but glowing faintly. The girl could not see them, but she felt their presence like a song vibrating in her bones. She walked slowly into the chamber, her hand trailing along the walls. The relic pulsed faster now, eager, alive. She felt it pulling her toward the center. At the heart of the chamber stood a tall pedestal. It shimmered with the same glow. The girl stepped closer, her guide at her side. "Place it there," he whispered. "I think this is where it belongs." Her hands trembled as she lifted the relic from her bag. She placed it on the pedestal. The moment she did, the room exploded with light. The walls lit up with streams of energy, flowing like rivers of stars. Symbols glowed, shifting into patterns. Machines awakened, humming with power. The girl stumbled back, her blind eyes wide with shock. "What is happening?" The human stared in awe. "It is unlocking. You were the key." The chamber's light filled the air, but something greater filled her heart. She felt the relic's pulse merge with her own heartbeat. She heard whispers, not cruel voices, but gentle ones. Words she could not fully understand, yet somehow knew. "You are chosen, not by sight, but by spirit. You see what others cannot. You are the guardian." Tears streamed down her cheeks. All her life she had been told she was worthless. All her life she had believed her blindness was her curse. But now the relic told her the truth. Her blindness had allowed her to feel what no one else could. Her curse was her gift. The human touched her shoulder, his voice soft but filled with wonder. "Do you feel it?" "Yes," she whispered. "It is speaking to me. What does it say?" She smiled through her tears. "That I am not nothing. That I was never nothing. I was meant to find this." The chamber grew brighter as more machines came alive. Holograms formed in the air, showing stars, planets, maps of distant galaxies. The human's eyes widened. "These are coordinates, gateways, secrets lost for centuries." The girl held her chest, trembling. "And I am their keeper." The human bowed his head slightly. "Then you are far greater than they ever believed." But outside, danger still stirred. The greedy traders had followed the glow, and their footsteps echoed in the archway. The human turned sharply. "They are coming." The girl's smile faded. She gripped the pedestal. "What do we do?" The relic pulsed again, and the chamber's walls shifted. Doors sealed shut, and barriers of light rose. The traders shouted, slamming against the glowing walls, but unable to pass. The girl gasped. "It is protecting us." The human nodded. "It responds to you. Only you." She stood taller, her blind eyes glowing faintly with the chamber's light. For the first time, she felt no fear. She was no longer a beggar, no longer a shadow. She was the guardian of something greater than herself. She turned toward the human, her voice steady. "Thank you. Without you, I would still believe I was nothing." He smiled. "Without you, I would still be searching. We found each other for a reason." Together, they stood at the center of the chamber, the relics glowing around them, the secrets of the stars unfolding in streams of light. The blind girl, once ignored and mocked, was now chosen by a power older than worlds. And the human, once seen as weak by the galaxy, stood at her side, proving that sometimes the greatest strength is not in power, but in belief. The traitors screamed outside, their fists useless against the barriers. The chamber hummed louder, alive with energy, and as the stars shone across the walls, the blind girl whispered, "This is only the beginning."